Hey again everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another installment in our Retrospective Figure Showcase series. I know I haven't done one of these in a while, but there have just been a lot of new pickups that have taken priority, to be honest. But we're back, and for this series I usually take a look back at a figure that I've either had on display for a while or that I've just never unboxed. So for today's installment, we'll continue going through the Damtoys Gangsters Kingdom line, or Poker Kingdom as it's been rebranded. And look, I know in the 6-skill community these aren't very popular. I think I'm one of the few channels that still covers them, but I have to tell you, they're some of my favorites, and they are so much fun to unpack and set up. So for today, we're going to be looking at the Memories version of Greg. So with this line, obviously, we get the primary characters who are all members of one of the crime families with a playing card designation, but we also get side story characters that don't really fall into one family or another. Greg is a character like that. So again, if you're not familiar with the line, it basically consists of 4 rival families, all based on a suit of playing cards. And for all intents and purposes, the main character is Ogier, which was their very first release based on Jason Statham. So this character's backstory is that he's one of Ogier's friends, a former Special Forces soldier who started a bike gang in Mexico, but who Ogier looks to for help. And that's it. You don't get much with these, right? At least not these early ones. The other thing you'll obviously notice, they're very stylized figures, although lately the extreme, almost caricature nature of the sculpts has veered towards a slightly more realistic take, but early on they were very stylized. So side story characters usually don't include as many accessories as the mainline figures, but Greg actually comes with a decent amount of things. So you get a few alternate hands, you get multiple weapons with a ton of ammo, and also a nice small katana. All really amazing, although we'll look at them in greater depth shortly. And then since he's a biker, you get a nice helmet and a backpack with some plates included that actually serve to hold the accessories in place in the pack. So that's pretty cool. Overall, only thing not included is a stand, and this one might actually need it, to be honest. But let's jump into the accessories, and we'll start with the hands. And not much here, right? You're just getting 3 additionals, very much done in that highly stylized manner to match the sculpt for the exposed fingers. But you're getting gripping hands for the guns and for the smaller blade he carries. The gloves have great detail work on them with all the armored bits on the knuckles and the back of the hands, as well as the little metal studs. So visually I like them. The one thing I'm not a fan of on this one, the hands are really rigid, and what I mean by that is there's not much flex to them, so you have to be very careful getting the weapons in place. I had the same issue with another release, and the accessories just ended up crumbling apart on me. But let's get into the cool accessories and start with one of the guns, and the first one is his submachine gun, which looks like a version of an HK MP7. Very compact and sleek looking, and where Damtoys shines is with the detail on these. For example, the ejection port is a nice silver in contrast to the rest of the matte black paint job, and the grips all have a nice texture, bit of detailing on them. The gun includes a foldable stock as well as a nice top rail, and then you get a variety of clips for the gun, from longer capacity ones to smaller ones. Very nicely done with a functional safety switch and also a spring-loaded action, so just really incredible looking. And that is actually going to carry on to his sidearm, which, look, it's not a new piece for Damtoys. They've done a lot of these, but each release tends to have a little flair of its own, right? Something that makes it unique. Here you get a nice matte black grip and trigger with a more muted gray slide, and again you have that very shiny silver at the ejection port. But what's really cool is that there's a ghosted in flame on the side of the gun, very subtle, and again not something anyone will notice unless you get very close, but it just looks great. And then the clips are also higher capacity ones, and the detail work is stunning. If you look at the back, you can actually see some additional detailing showing the number of rounds and some text indicating the caliber, so just amazing. And the last weapon is actually pretty interesting. Again, not the first time we've seen it. And look, it's not my favorite. Just that the other 2 ones we're getting here, it looks so much better to me. So first, it's a disassembled sniper rifle of sorts, although the caliber of bullets seems very small, but it's an automatic with an extended clip as well, and you assemble it by mounting the body onto the stock that has a nice wood appearance to it, and you also slide on a sight that's mounted onto a top rail. And of course you see the elongated barrel. Again, the wood looks great with an almost reddish hue to it, and the gun has some good detail work on all the elements. If anything, it reminds me of, if you've ever watched one of the classic Clint Eastwood westerns for a few dollars more, the Colonel, played by Lee Van Cleef, has a similar weapon, although it's just a modded revolver, but still, looks very similar to me. Next weapon is the katana that comes with a nice, clean looking simple sheath. Now the blade itself is gorgeous. The blade has that nice slight curve to it, and I think it's metal, and it does feel like metal, which gives you a nice glint. And it is, as is typical for the line, the blade is covered in blood, but look at the detail where it terminates in the gold at the top of the handle, and then the ornate detailing on the handle itself, creating that classic grip look with the crisscrossing fabric over symbols. Just stunning. You also get 2 grenades And look, nothing crazy here, but you do have real metal pins that aren't just molded and painted. I didn't try, but I think if I wanted to, I could actually remove those. But they look great and include some very fine print on the surface of the explosive that you can actually read. Although on camera it's way too small to see, but very cool nevertheless. And then you get the backpack, which comes pre-assembled for you with the secondary pouches on either side. And then you have the various plates that include some straps for you to fit in almost every accessory, from the various extra clips to the blade, and then even the components of the sniper rifle. So pretty neat from a storage perspective. So you don't need to necessarily keep everything in the box. And then the backpack, all the zippers are fully functional, and it's a very nice looking accessory with the almost grayish green pouches on the side. Just a nice companion to the figure. But one of the real highlights for me is the motorcycle helmet. Damtoys has reused this with their Vera figure, but this was the first time they gave it to us, and it looks stunning. At first glance it's very simple looking, but there's a lot of detail here, from the sculpts with the nice silver accents on the top and the silver detail on the bottom where the visor meets the body of the helmet. And then the visor itself is actually slightly opaque, so you are able to see the sculpt beneath a little bit. And the paint they used, it's this very reflective metallic paint that keeps that silver theme going. It's just really impressive and also very functional. You can actually lift the visor itself, which is nice to give you some display options, but you can also lift the entire front portion of the visor, which you would need to do anyways to get the thing on the figure, but it's really nice to have all those options nevertheless. Now let's jump into the figure itself, and we'll start with the sculpt, which again, very stylized, as I'm sure you can tell by the exaggerated brow, although again, this isn't as cartoonish as some of the earlier releases, so we're seeing Damtoys go away from that a little. Also, this wasn't the first time Damtoys used a sculpt. They had a convention-exclusive Navy SEAL Dev Groove figure that was done in this style. Now, usually these are supposed to look like an actor, a character, or an athlete, and in this case, I think this was meant to look like actor Andy Whitfield, who you might know from Season 1 of Spartacus on Starz. He was awesome in that show, but unfortunately passed away after a battle with cancer. But I think that's who this was meant to be, but correct me if I'm wrong. Sculpt, though, looks incredible with that nice expressive furrowed brow, the really great eyes, and the nice detail along the facial hair. So just visually very well done. Now, as for the rest of the figure, he looks great. He is one of their taller figures, and he does suffer from some slightly weak ankle joints, which is why I wish they had included a stand. But besides that, the figure again looks great. Damtoys kills it with the tailoring and the clothing on these, from the jean jacket with some actual embroidered patches that also includes some detailed sleeves with built-in padding at the shoulders, down to the shirt, which includes the name of the gang, the tribe, screen printed on, although I would have liked to have seen that on the back of the jacket too. And if you can notice, the dog tags, very small, they're real metal accessories, and what's impressive is that they have actual imprinted text on them. Not screen printed, it's actually printed, like stamped in. So that's really impressive to see that level of detail. And that's what makes this line so appealing to me, because as you look at everything, there's so much great detail work that goes into these. Even the belt has details, and the chain on it, again, real metal. I know these aren't the biggest selling Damtoys figures, but I feel like they do set a standard for what you can get in 6 scale at least at the time, a fairly reasonable price. From a posing perspective, the bodies on these tend to be really posable. Some of the versions with the exposed arms do favor aesthetics over posability, but if you have a figure with longer sleeves, usually you do get double jointed elbows. So getting more realistic poses is always a big plus. And with this figure, there are a ton of posing options, from the variety of weapons to even having multiple display options for the head. I love the sculpt, I think it looks great, but there's no denying that the helmet also looks great, so that's something to just play with. Although the other thought I had with both Greg and Vera was the possibility of getting 6-scale motorcycles to display them on. Part of me was tempted to actually pick up that Common Rider bike that Hot Toys just put out, because it seems like it could go with him, so I might actually still try to get that, although with the headlamp with the bug light look be distracting, I don't know about that. But look, just a beautiful figure. And I know that, again, this is not for everyone, but for me, it's without a doubt one of the lines that I'm most happy to be collecting. Whenever I get a new figure from the line, I definitely get excited, because almost every time I'm impressed by what you get, from accessories to just the overall feel of the piece. And Greg didn't disappoint. So that was a quick look at Greg, a side story memories character from the Damtoys ongoing Gangsters Kingdom or Poker Kingdom line. I love it, and it's another win for them in my book, but let me know your thoughts on this one, and as always, thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.